What happens when the face of your league gets hurt and no one cares enough to blow the whistle?
I just hope she doesn't get injured by all these fouls. She's already injured.
Somebody who was responsible for 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity last season.
Caitlin Clark isn't just another rookie. She's the biggest reason people are watching the WNBA right now. Sold out arenas, record-breaking viewership, jersey sales through the roof. She's the headline, the attraction, the moment. And yet, when she gets shoved, grabbed, and hit like a punching bag, the refs stay silent.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to her the last few games.
The league turns a blind eye, and fans are left wondering how long until she snaps. Or worse, how long until she's sidelined for good. The WNBA has been riding the Caitlin Clark wave to newfound popularity, but now that same wave is starting to crash, and the damage could be devastating.
Oh wow, this is not good. This is not good at all.
Because last night, in a game that should have been a celebration of elite competition, something happened that left fans speechless, players furious, and a head coach absolutely livid. It wasn't just one missed call, it was a game full of them, and in the final seconds, the league's brightest star, on the verge of tying the game, was blatantly fouled. Everyone saw it. Replay confirmed it, but the whistle never came. No free throws, no overtime, just silence. Now the question isn't whether the Fever were robbed. The question is whether the WNBA even wants Caitlin Clark to succeed, or if they're too afraid of the controversy that comes with protecting her. This isn't just about a game. It's about respect, safety, and the future of the WNBA's biggest investment. Because if the league lets this continue, if Caitlin Clark ends up injured and ratings tank, they'll only have themselves to blame. And what's coming next might be even uglier. From the opening tip, something felt off. You could see it in the players' faces, feel it in the crowd, and hear it every time the whistle didn't blow. The Indiana Fever were going toe-to-toe with the defending champion New York Liberty. This wasn't a blowout. It wasn't even a mismatch. It was a war. Both teams trading buckets like prize fighters, every possession dripping with intensity. But while the Fever fought to earn every point, the officials made sure the Liberty barely had to. Missed calls, silent whistles, contact that would get you thrown out in a pickup game, completely ignored. It was like the refs had swallowed their whistles anytime a Fever player touched the ball in the paint. Meanwhile, the Liberty were living at the free throw line. 32 attempts compared to Indiana's 15. More than double. In a game that came down to 2 points, that kind of discrepancy isn't just noticeable, it's game-breaking. And then came the final seconds. The Fever had battled back, leading by as much as 12 in the fourth quarter. They outscored New York by 17 in the third. They played their hearts out. But with the game hanging in the balance, everything unraveled. Not because of bad plays, but because of biased officiating. Aaliyah Boston had been unstoppable. Lexi Hall, making her first start, stepped up with 15 crucial points. And Caitlin Clark? She was fighting through double teams, hard fouls, and relentless pressure, still managing 18 points and 10 assists. But even her star power wasn't enough to overcome the silence from the Stripes. And when the final whistle blew, fans weren't debating strategy or missed shots. They were all asking the same thing. What the hell did we just watch? Because this didn't feel like a loss. It felt like a setup. But this wasn't the first time the Fever got the short end of the stick. And it sure wasn't the last. And what came out after the game? That's when things exploded. At first it seemed like a bad night. A tough loss. Maybe a few missed calls. But then the numbers came out, and they were downright brutal. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. 31. That's not just a red flag. That's a full-blown alarm siren blaring through the entire league. Over their last few games, the Indiana Fever, one of the most aggressive paint-attacking teams in the league, have been sent to the line 31 fewer times than their opponents. And no, they're not chucking threes all game. They're driving hard, taking hits, and getting zero respect from the whistle. It's not just unfair, it's statistically impossible to ignore. Head coach Stephanie White didn't hold back. In a post-game press conference that's already being called legendary, she laid it all out. "I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes," she said, "but we're not. We're attacking the rim." Her frustration was raw, unfiltered, and long overdue. Because this isn't just about one missed call on Caitlin Clark. It's about a trend that's been growing louder every game. The Fever are doing everything right. Running plays, executing offense, playing physical, and yet they're not getting the same calls as other teams. And in a league where every possession matters, that kind of imbalance isn't just frustrating, it's dangerous. Fans noticed, analysts noticed, players noticed, and it wasn't just one or two questionable fouls. It was a full-on pattern, the kind of pattern that decides outcomes before the ball is even tipped. And the worst part, the league's system for handling complaints, according to White, it's broken too. "We can send stuff in," she said, "but I don't know that I ever feel like the system works." When a coach publicly admits they have no faith in the league's accountability system, that's not frustration, that's an indictment. But the numbers weren't the only problem, because when it came down to the final seconds, everything exploded in one unbelievable no call. This was the moment. Down 2. Clock ticking. Everything on the line, and of course it had to be Caitlin Clark. She gets the ball at the top of the key, one defender in her face, another lurking. Everyone watching knew what was coming. The crossover, the drive, that ice in her veins killer instinct. This was her time to shine, or at least it should have been. But instead of a game-tying play, the entire arena witnessed something else. A blatant foul. Clear contact, no whistle. Game over. Natasha Cloud hit her not once, but multiple times during the play. Body-to-body contact, a wrap on the arm, even holding her shoulder during the follow-through. It was textbook. You could pause the replay at any frame and see the infraction. And yet, silence. The refs watched it all unfold and did nothing. It wasn't a judgment call, it wasn't a gray area. It was the kind of play that gets blown dead 100 out of 100 times, unless apparently it involves Caitlin Clark in a Fever jersey. Fans erupted online, clips went viral within minutes. Analysts were stunned. Even neutral observers were left shaking their heads. This wasn't a tough call, it was an obvious one, and ignoring it didn't just cost the Fever the game. It undermined the entire credibility of the officiating crew. Clark wasn't asking for superstar treatment. She was asking for basic fairness. The same call any other player would get in the same situation. Instead, the league's most marketable player, the rookie driving ticket sales, jersey numbers, and TV ratings, got mugged on a game-deciding play and walked away with nothing. It wasn't just a foul, it was a turning point. But the worst part? That wasn't the only missed call, because what happened in the final minute was a full-blown disaster. And it's all on tape. If the no call on Caitlin Clark wasn't bad enough, it turns out that was just the grand finale in a string of disasters. The final minute of the game was pure chaos, and not because of the players, because of the referees. First, Dana Bonner slashes to the rim for a wide-open layup. She's met mid-air with a hard body check. Clear contact. Clear foul. But again, no whistle. The ball clanks off the rim. No free throws, no basket, no justice. That play alone could have sealed the win for Indiana. But the refs swallowed their whistles. Next, Lexi Hall, who'd been playing elite defense all night, gets hit with a phantom foul on Sabrina Ionescu. Hall wasn't reaching. She wasn't pushing. She was moving her feet, playing clean positional defense, and yet somehow that gets called. 2 free throws for the Liberty, gift wrapped. Sabrina sinks both, and just like that, the Liberty take the lead on a foul that never should have existed. Finally, Clark gets fouled at the buzzer, and we all know how that went. 3 calls, all wrong, all in the final moments, all going one way. Let's break that down. A missed call that should have put Indiana ahead, a bad call that gave New York the lead, and a missed call that denied the Fever a chance to tie it. That's not coincidence. That's not human error. That's a meltdown. And the worst part? These aren't just blown calls in the middle of a meaningless quarter. These were game-defining moments. These were the possessions that determined the outcome, and every single one went against the Fever. The footage is there, the evidence is undeniable, and the fans? They've had enough. But while the internet exploded, one person stepped up and said exactly what everyone was thinking. Coach Stephanie White wasn't just mad, she was furious. And she lit the league on fire in a press conference nobody saw coming. You've seen angry coaches before, but you've never seen anything like this. Stephanie White walked into that post-game press conference with fire in her eyes. And the moment she sat down, she let it all out. No dodging, no spin, no coach speak, just raw, unfiltered truth. Her voice was steady, but the rage was boiling underneath. I thought she got fouled, she said about Caitlin Clark's final shot. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. Egregious! That's not a word coaches throw around lightly, especially not in public, especially not when they know the league office is watching. But White didn't care. She wasn't there to protect reputations. She was there to protect her team. And she had receipts. She didn't just talk about one call, she brought up a -31 free throw discrepancy over the last few games. That's not frustration. That's a pattern, a trend, a flashing red light that says something seriously wrong. And then came the knockout blow. She looked straight at the cameras and questioned the entire WNBA grievance system, said there's a process in place to file complaints, but made it clear she doesn't believe it works. I don't know that I ever feel like the system works, she said. That's not just calling out refs. That's calling out the league itself. This wasn't venting. This was a calculated stand. A veteran coach speaking for her players, knowing full well the fine is probably coming, but doing it anyway. Because enough is enough, White didn't hold back. She said what fans have been yelling on social media for weeks, that the Fever aren't getting fair treatment, that Clark isn't being protected, that these calls, or lack of them, are putting careers, games, and reputations at risk. And the emotion in her voice? It wasn't just anger. It was disappointment. Because deep down, she knows her team isn't asking for special treatment. They're just asking for consistency, for fairness, for a shot to win based on basketball, not biased officiating. But here's the twist. As the league scrambles to contain the backlash, something else is quietly building in Indiana. Because this controversy isn't breaking the Fever. It's forging them into something dangerous. You'd think a loss like that, ripped away in the final seconds, would leave a team broken, shaken, defeated. But that's not what happened in Indiana. Instead, something else started to take shape. The Fever didn't walk off that court with their heads down. They walked off furious, motivated, united, because in those final minutes, something bigger than a basketball game happened. This team found its fight, and now they're becoming dangerous. Start with Aaliyah Boston. She didn't just play well, she dominated. 27 points, 13 rebounds against the defending champions. She was a one-woman wrecking crew in the paint, carrying the Fever through brutal stretches and refusing to back down. And she's not alone. Lexi Hall made her first start of the season and dropped 15 points like she's been in the lineup all year. Fearless, confident, and ready for the moment. That's what championship caliber teams need. Depth, options, players who step up when it matters. And Caitlin Clark? Even on an off night, she still put up 18 points and 10 assists while getting hacked. While being double-teamed, while getting zero help from the officials, she kept fighting. She kept creating, and she kept the Fever in the game until the very last second. But here's what really matters. This wasn't their best game. They were inconsistent. They had defensive lapses. They let a 12-point lead slip, and they still nearly beat the top team in the league. Clark said it best. We're 2 possessions away from being 4-0. That's how close this team is to being undefeated. 2 plays, 2 moments. That's the margin, and that's the warning. Because this team is learning the hard way. How to play under pressure, how to respond to adversity, how to get stronger every time the league knocks them down. And they're not backing off. They're getting better. And with every bad call, every missed whistle, every moment of disrespect, they're building something powerful. What started as frustration is turning into fuel. Every championship team has that moment when everything seems stacked against them, and the only way out is to fight. For the Indiana Fever, this might be that moment, because controversy, it changes people. The missed calls, the media outrage, the silence from the league office, it's all created a spark, and that spark is turning into something lethal. The Fever are done waiting for fairness. They're done hoping for whistles. Now they're just coming for everyone. You can see it in how they play. Tighter defense, sharper movement, less hesitation. There's a chip on every shoulder, and it's growing by the day. They've realized that no one's gonna hand them anything. Not respect, not call, not wins. So now they're taking it. This isn't just a team with talent, it's a team with something to prove. And that's dangerous, because the league can't stop what happens when every player on the roster is locked in, hungry, and sick of being disrespected. The fans feel it too. The backlash against the officiating has created an us versus them mentality that's turning Indiana into a fortress. Every missed call just makes the crowd louder. Every tough play fuels the fire. And every injustice is drawing more people to the Fever's side. Clark said it herself. This group is still figuring things out. They've barely scratched the surface. But when they do, when they finally put together 4 full quarters of locked-in basketball, watch out. This isn't a collapse. It's a transformation, a young team getting its battle scars early, learning how to fight together, win together, and carry each other when the league tries to knock them down. They're not backing down, they're gearing up, and when the playoffs come, this won't be the same Fever team. This will be a team that's been through the fire and came out fearless. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's the WNBA's main event. The reason thousands of new fans are tuning in. The face on every poster. The highlight in every feed. She's not a future star. She's the now. But the question no one in power seems willing to ask is the most obvious one. If she goes down, what happens to the league? Because here's the truth. The WNBA needs Caitlin Clark more than Caitlin Clark needs the WNBA. She's brought attention, money, and excitement the league hasn't seen in years. But instead of protecting that investment, the league is letting her get mauled on national television with no consequences. No accountability, no justice. And it's not just about one missed foul, it's about the pattern. The refusal to blow the whistle. The silence when it matters most. When Clark gets hit, shoved, body checked into the paint, nothing. But when her opponents breathe heavy, free throws. At some point, this stops being about basketball and starts being about safety, fairness, and respect. Because if she takes one wrong hit, if she lands awkwardly on one of these no calls, the fallout will be massive. Fans will tune out. Players will lose trust, and the league's credibility will take a hit it might not recover from. That's the risk. That's the line they're walking. Stephanie White said what everyone was thinking. The fans are screaming it louder every day, and still no change. But the clock's ticking. Because you can only disrespect greatness for so long before it fights back, or walks away. So here's the final question. The league needs her, but who's protecting her?